As I walked along the marshy ground under the shade of the tilted palm trees, my mind spun with thoughts about Cassie, and Will, and Wolf, and werewolves. I didn't see the snake until I stepped on it. I glanced down in time to see its bright green head shoot forward. I felt a sharp stab of pain as its fangs dug into my ankle. The pain jolted up my leg. I uttered a choked gasp before I crumpled to the ground.
You can't scare me, not with the basement of botany. Maybe a sentient dummy calling all creeps.
Boo dudes! Welcome to Calling All Creeps. I'm your co-host Matt, here with my co-host Dave. How are you cute little Steinheads doing?
Hola. Boo hombres. Feliz Cinco de Ambro.
Today's
Cinco de...
Today's Cinco De Mayo.
Cinco de Slimo. That's the one we came up with.
Not to date our...
Yeah, I mean, it's coming out much later,
Yeah.
but...
Plus, I'm married. I can't date the podcast.
That's a good one. That was great.
Am I supposed to introduce myself? I didn't want to come in too early.
Tom...
He's the king of
Let me
coming
tell
too
you
early.
how this works, okay?
Okay,
You don't speak until we introduce you,
Okay.
okay? We'll edit this out.
Yeah, please. Edit me
Okay.
out.
Dave, how are you doing?
Let's see. It was a pretty busy week.
Spare no detail.
Okay. So this morning, I woke up and I had to finish the book.
Uh-huh.
So I read the book, and then I had to feed my dang cat. So
I read the book too.
Hold on one second. We got to mark this.
Sorry, edit that. Yeah,
Yeah,
my
edit
bad. I just got excited because I read the book too.
Delete here.
All right.
Delete here.
Delete. We both
Delete.
clap at the same time.
Here.
All right. Now we can start from here.
Okay.
So I woke up around like 9-ish. Long night, long day of work, and then I read the book.
Okay.
I actually didn't take a morning poop, which is interesting.
No,
didn't do
you
that
still
today.
haven't pooped?
I haven't, which is crazy. 'Cause
Do you feel okay?
I did. I ate at Hooters last night, but I was real tired, so...
I'm just drinking seltzer. I'm not talking at all.
Dave, go on.
And then I picked up Tom from a bus stop.
Who?
Tom, today we have a special guest.
We have a special guest today on Boo Dudes Calling All Creeps.
His name is Tom.
His name is Tom, and he's here with us. Tom, welcome to Calling All Creeps. Thanks for taking the RL time to be with us.
So now
Now
I talk.
Yep,
Cool.
now's the time.
Hi, boo dudes. I'm Tom.
So Tom, what do you do?
I'm a writer at a video game company. I write video games.
Do you write Final Fantasy?
No, yeah. I mean, why not? Yeah.
You write Mario Kart?
Wrote that one.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. You know how there's courses in that one? Mm-hmm. My idea.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, but to be fair, he wrote Toe Jam and Earl.
Is that real?
No, also not real.
Okay.
I wrote a Spider-Man game. That was
did?
fun.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah, so Spider-Man Unlimited, but that got canceled because I was too horny. My writing was just too horny for Spider-Man.
Right.
Yeah, I made the webs his jizz.
That's I was gonna say.
Jizz counter number one. First,
Bing.
I was told that I'm only allowed to talk about jizz on this.
That's two.
Yeah, it's a jizz first, goosebumps second podcast.
You must have listened before.
Yeah, yes, I have.
So can you tell us a little bit about your relationship to Goosebumps?
Very
in your
little.
life?
I didn't like horror growing up because it was scary.
It is scary.
And also, I feel like the library at my elementary school didn't have number one of Goosebumps, and I was definitely like a very anal kid of like, I cannot start a series without number one. It's why I never read Boxcar Children. It's why I never read The Babysitter Club. There's just
Yeah.
like too many books.
You don't want to jump in midway.
Yeah.
I also want to call bullshit because this is a fun fact I was waiting to say that Tom had my mother as a third grade teacher.
Oh, really?
And that's the only story relating to me and Dave's mother. I didn't do anything inappropriate in third grade.
No, we're not going to talk about the time you mooned her and got sent home. But that classroom, it has my original Goosebump collection in it.
Oh,
wow.
Did one of those.
They were all there.
Wow, I didn't realize this was going to be a gotcha journalism
Gotcha.
podcast.
I actually don't know if Because a lot of them were just so beaten up and thrown away because like they were mine and my cousins and like my brother. So that classroom still has them. They're like duct taped together. They're like.
But it was
barely
that
exist.
early on that your mom brought him to the classroom.
Yeah. Well, also Tom's a younger boy than us.
Yeah, I'm like, what am I, like 10 years younger than you?
Not 10 years. How old are
Yeah.
you?
I'm 23.
You're 14.
Yeah.
I'm 14 years old. I'm this many, which doesn't really work on a podcast.
Tom is 7 years younger.
Yeah.
Which meant by that time, when you're in third grade, I was like in middle school. So all the
Right,
books
right.
in her classroom like was filled with my stuff.
You were on to reading middle school books.
Yeah, I was like,
like the Uglies and the Brats for teens.
I was
Like
talking
the
about
Bratz dolls?
The Bratz dolls for teens.
Perks of being a wallflower. Never
Yeah,
read it,
yeah.
but I was told I would cry.
Yeah, you were reading Fight Club,
Fault in Our Stars.
Fault in Our Stars.
Yeah.
Middlesex by Jeffrey Eugenides.
Yeah.
Million Little Pieces by
James Fry.
James Fry.
yeah.
The Bible.
The Anarchist Cookbook. Yeah.
Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance.
Yeah. Dogs.
Seems like we got some motorcycle maintenance fans.
Well, listen, this is very appropriate because today's book is Werewolf of Fever Swamp.
It is.
This is wild.
This is just out of
They're not
control.
leaving.
It's the most dogs you guys
Oh,
have
now
ever
they just
had.
stopped at once.
Oh, yeah, we're done. We finished saying werewolf.
Yeah.
I hope they're okay.
Okay. So Werewolf of Fever Swamp. This book is the final one of 1993. December of 1993, this book came out. So how old were you?
-2 years old.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Out of control. I was 5.
Welcome to the world, Tom.
Thank you. I think my dad was at that point considering a vasectomy, but he didn't want to do it. Maybe, I don't know. Does he have a vasectomy even now? We could call him, but they didn't think they were going to have another kid, and then I popped up. I was the twist, much like a Goosebumps novel.
Yes.
Yeah. You're the last 3 pages. Boom, Tom.
I was the Juba twist.
So, song at that time, number 1 song for December of 1993 was Hero by Mariah Carey.
Good.
Then a hero comes along, look inside you and be strong.
Yeah. You see?
Poetry.
Take that, Brian.
When you finally touch my dick, you will be sick.
Oh, man. Classic.
I remember
so many
that.
people's wedding songs.
Yeah. A lot of slow dances.
Movie was The Pelican Brief.
Crazy.
Sure.
Never
That's
seen-
like
Insane.
Never seen it.
Bird underwear.
Yeah, right? What are you more, Pelican Brief or Pelican Boxers?
And
Depends
this
how hot
was
it is.
early Denzel Washington.
Okay,
That
sure.
was the top movie. So let's say time and place. December 2nd, Pablo Escobar was shot to death by Colombian police
Aw.
at the age of 44. Don't want to ruin that Netflix series for everyone. But
Pour one out.
pour one out.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, we are enjoying Corona Lights with
That's
a
right.
sliced up lime, thanks to Matt.
Only 99 calories.
Oh, it's not bad.
Tastes like piss, but there is a lime in it, and it really steps it up.
It's I feel like I'm on the beach now, and I'm loving it.
Yeah.
What would be a scary version of Corona Light?
Corona heavy.
Coors Light. Am I right, beer drinkers? Yeah. All right.
All right. 5 carbs.
That's insane.
Wild.
December 5th, Doug Hopkins, who is the singer-songwriter of or the guitarist and singer of Gin Blossoms, shot and killed himself at 32.
Oh, Jesus.
I had no idea that happened.
I didn't know that either.
That's
That's
like-
a suicide band? I always
Hey-
think of Blind Melon.
Yeah, I think of Blind Melon, Nirvana, Elliott Smith.
Right,
I never
yeah.
think of Hey Jealousy.
No.
But what like a happy, fun, like we used to listen to that song and just like ride around town while the cops chase us
Tell me,
around.
do you think it'd be alright
Yeah.
if I could just crash here tonight?
And this is how you know.
You can see I'm not
You can
Go on.
tell who how old people are because does this ring a bell? On December 6th, Elian Gonzalez was born.
Oh,
No idea who that is.
See?
you wouldn't racist.
Elian Gonzalez was a little boy that America fell in love with in the year 2000.
Yeah.
And they didn't want him to go to Cuba.
Right.
Cool.
His parents, he like came over on like, I don't know.
Like a door, like in the Titanic.
He just got a bunch of like Poland Spring bottles and floated over to America with his mom and who like died. And he was going to stay with family here. And they were like, no, get away.
Yeah, so it was like a child refugee, and of course we were like,
Cuba
no
wanted him
fucking
back,
way,
and we
don't
were like,
have the room.
no, we will
Man.
buy him a Princess Diana Beauty Baby, and he will stay here with us. He has not played one game of Pogs yet. This is bullshit.
Yeah, the 90s were such a different time.
Right?
Yeah,
Now we're trying to...
Nothing like that would happen.
Yeah,
now.
we're just bringing in Ellie and Gonzalez's every day
Constantly.
now.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
no issue
Yeah, which
Yeah.
I disagree with, and that's why I came on the podcast today
to talk about this.
To talk about I don't hate immigrants. I hate Ellie and Gonzalez. Every single one. They've always been mean to me. They take my girlfriends. They spit on me. They call me pig boy. I hate Ellie and Gonzalez.
Yeah, nowadays, if you like floated over, we would just keep him from getting on the land and also hold his head under.
Yeah.
Yes,
And then wait for the tides to change so he'd float back.
And then like somehow profit off of his door. Like
Yeah, we'd
they'd be
take it.
We grab his door like it's a good door. And I mean like and then we like sell it to
refinish
you know,
it.
like door big door, you know.
.com.
Bigdoor.com.
Bezos, fucking Bezos.
And then when he's still alive, we blame every school shooting on him. But anyway, this is not a political podcast. But on December 20th, Trump gets married to his second of third wives,
Okay.
Maria Maples.
Sure. Maria
He was
Maples.
47.
The syrup heiress.
He was he was 47 and she was 30.
Sure, that checks out.
It's not that crazy.
That's so hot.
That's
so hot.
Then if you like that, the only reason I put that in there is because 6 days later, Rodney Dangerfield gets married in Las Vegas at the Little Chapel to Joan Child. Funny that her last name's that because he was 72 and she was 41.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's crazy.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's
Nice.
crazy.
Yeah, I can't wait to continually leave all of my significant others for someone 30 years younger than me. Right now, I'm just leaving people for dreams because I'm only 23, but soon I'll be able to leave them for infants.
That's right.
Yeah.
Here's the problem, though. I don't like you saying that about Rodney Dangerfield. He deserves your respect.
But he gets
Get it?
you can't get no respect.
Yeah. Anytime I think of Rodney Dangerfield, I can't think of any of his jokes. I just think of him just being like, "Hey, yo," like just making noises in between sentences.
Over here.
He's very funny.
Alcoholic red nose. And,
Yeah, someone described him as like they walked into his hotel room and he was just sitting watching his own special in a robe with his dick out. And that's how I just imagined him all the time. Just like sitting like,
sounds accurate.
yeah.
To be fair, if I had a special, I would have a reason for sitting in a hotel room with my dick out.
Yeah.
Do you guys own robes?
I own a robe.
I do.
I wear it often.
You wear it, yeah. Is it like a smoking jacket type of robe or is
No.
it like a bathrobe?
It's like a bathrobe.
Mine's bathrobe, plaid, Target.
Yeah. Mine's from Kohl's.
How about you?
Gotcha. No, I don't. I've never been a robe guy. I don't understand the point of robes.
You don't until you have one.
Gotcha.
I kind of want a silk robe.
How often
silk
do you
robe would be
have to
nice.
wash a robe?
Once a month.
That's too strong.
Really?
Yeah. How often do you clean your robe?
All the time, man.
It's outerwear. It's like, how often do you wash a jacket? I don't wear it nude.
Wait, you don't wear it nude?
No. I wear it to warm up.
Really?
Yeah. It's like a
Mine
big, it's
is
like a snuggie.
No, mine's basically like, oh, I forgot to bring clothes when I took a shower
Oh, really?
and I walked back in it.
Maybe I should wear it nude.
Yeah. I feel like I would just wear a jacket if I was cold.
You know why? Because my wife would be constantly barfing.
My wife. All right. Cool.
All right, so let's get into this book.
I'm trying not to
Fever
laugh into the
Swamp.
microphone so it looks like you're the only one laughing.
It's so great.
We'll edit out our laughter.
Yeah.
So
Am
this,
I allowed to talk yet? Have we got to the part I can talk?
so this book is actually brought back up. It is referenced in Give Yourself Goosebumps Night in Werewolf Woods. It had a 2-part TV episode. The character is featured in both movies. Also, it was adapted into a comic book, Goosebumps Graphics, with a X at the end.
Nice.
This was one that was done before the most recent Goosebumps series, which we actually picked one up. It's the sequel. It's the spiritual successor to Say Cheese and Die we got. And it's all about, basically the
digital
internet
shit.
and phones. It's like Say Cheese and Die if it was digital.
It's like download and die, right?
Yeah, it's
Isn't
something
that-
like that. Yeah,
Lame.
which is going to be fun. It's a comic,
Yeah.
but this is the first comic book. They have multiple ones, and that was adapted in September of 2006.
Cool.
So the front tagline is a reference to Little Red Riding Hood,
Who's afraid of the big bad wolf?
and the back is a reference to Three Little Pig. Oh wait, no, it's back. I did it backwards. Front is a reference to Three Little Pigs. Back is a reference to Little Red Riding Hood.
Right. Well, what big teeth you have.
All right. So, funny thing is Grady, is our main character, was played by Brendan Fletcher, who is the bad kid from Air Bud.
Oh.
Cool. Neat.
Cool. And the hermit, who doesn't get a name in this book, doesn't get a name in there, is played by Don Franks. And you may know him as the voice of Dr. Claw from Inspector Gadget.
Oh.
And the voice of Sabretooth from everything.
Wow.
X-Men Sabretooth from the animated series and every video game.
Wow.
Like all the way up to like Marvel vs. Capcom. Remember when they did those like X-Men like Marvel Universe games?
Yeah, well,
he is Sabretooth. Like his whole thing just says Sabretooth the whole way down. Pretty crazy.
cool. And he got his start as a swamp hermit.
Yeah.
The misunderstood swamp hermit.
There is a character, and I wrote way too into this before. There's a character named Will Blake, which I was just like, oh shit, is he going to do a William Blake thing? So I wrote all these major themes to think of because Matt and I we had a favorite, like one of our favorite teachers in college where we took every single like visionary poet class that he had.
Yeah.
So we like extensively researched William Blake.
Yeah.
So I was like looking for themes of religion, nature as power beyond belief, innocence, or his big quote, opposition is friendship. But
all of that is there. All of that is totally there. Yeah.
there's some stuff, but we can near the end. I wanted to revisit that to see if we get any sort of.
Oh, I think take out religion, but like nature as a force and
Yeah.
like opposition is friendship. I mean, opposition is friendship.
Is-
I mean,
is-
Well,
literal.
the
Yeah.
whole thing about nature of force he talked about is that nature over religion, the power of nature, and like the natural world versus finding a reason for it with religion, which I think could delve into his parents being scientists and being stuck in the middle of this swamp to study it. Mm-hmm. And I was like, so
Yeah.
it could be.
No,
So
no,
I'm wondering if this is some big shoes that have R.L. Stein's giant feet, which you know what that means, filling it.
I definitely want to talk about the plot before I dive into my insane thoughts about theme with this book. Because
Okay.
I felt like a crazy person on the bus last night because I was reading it and I figured out the twist like 10 pages before the end, and I was just like, everything fits together in a great pattern, and I understand everything. It's all about Trump. I mean, like we'll get into like isolationism under the 21st century and how we're all
could.
alone and we want to kill. Like,
Hey,
we'll get there.
Your
We'll
vision
get
there
turned into
are-
a grid like Terminator. And
Yeah,
just,
yeah,
all
no,
these
it's-
shapes and colors.
But there are like with Haunted Mask and some of the other ones, there are really deep themes that are kind of beyond like a fairy tale lesson, but more
Yeah.
insightful than you would expect.
And it's always surprising in a good way because whenever Stein subverts your expectations and there's actually some thematic meat to dig into, it's nice because he famously, as we always say, doesn't write to imbue any sort of moral into the story or to teach you anything. He just wants kids to read. So
And
when
that's
there's
a
something
quote
there,
from him. He says there's no moral. He just wants people to read and that
Yeah.
nobody dies in these books. And both of those are not
It's
true.
Not true, yeah.
Some great misdirection.
This is a question I'm sure you get a lot from your guests on this podcast. RL. What's the RL stand for in R.L. Stein?
Robert something Stein.
I think is it Lawrence? I
Just
don't
his
even know.
name, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just his like middle initial.
Well, he
No.
originally-
I just want to know. It's not.
it's
I'm sure it's
Robert.
not very interesting. But
Well, no, because he originally was a comedy writer.
Right.
All he wanted to do was write comedy and tell jokes, and he used to go by Jovial Bob Stein,
wow.
right?
Wow.
But when he started writing Fear Street and like some stuff with Edge for teens, he went by R.L. Stein.
It's a
Nice
scary
little
name.
pen name.
Yeah.
So let's pop in on that plot.
Let's do it.
Do you want to start, Tom?
No.
Matt?
Okay.
Sorry. I
Always try to get people to start it off. Because
Yeah.
I just read the whole like the history,
would-
and then but I'm the only one who takes plot notes.
It would be way funnier if you had just said no and didn't apologize for it at all. Just moved it along.
Yeah, no, I just feel bad
Pass.
because I'm like, like,
Pass.
I do want to participate in this. I did read the book, I promise, but I just like,
I saw him do it.
yeah, I just like, I don't know, because I'll probably skip half of the plot.
Same.
because there's so much worth skipping in this book.
Yeah.
There is. Okay, so this is all we need to know. We'll just lay it out there.
All right.
So, family moved from Vermont to Florida. Parents are scientists, moved with their 2 children, Emily and Grady, to see if South American swamp deer can survive.
which exist.
They do exist. I Googled this. Swamp
Really?
deer do exist. They're from South America.
And they're described as they are in the book?
Yes.
Sorry, I farted.
Listen, no. The listeners, this is crazier. Tom took his hanky out.
No, I didn't. I farted.
No,
I
he took
actually
a
just shit my
hanky.
pants. I don't have a handkerchief.
That's not a
I
tissue.
didn't just blow my nose.
I own tissues if you want to keep that guy clean.
It's funnier that the first time you leaned away as if it would be quiet, and then an elephant horn sound.
Yeah, I'm just doing an ASMR. I've gargled seltzer and just blown my nose into the mic. So I just want to get people horny.
So
I want people to get ready for this podcast.
I
and
think
get horny.
people come into this podcast horny.
And then we ruined
Creeps.
that. But if
This is calling all creeps.
so, they were going to take these deer and set them into the Florida Everglades to see if they could survive in other environments. Went down that internet rabbit hole. Those deer are nearly endangered and only exist in captivity now, which means his parents fucked up.
Damn.
Yeah.
They did a bad job.
I'm calling the WWF. And not the World Wildlife Fund. I'm calling Vince McMahon.
Yeah.
Calling Vince McMahon to kick the shit out of his dad.
I always thought, the office in Connecticut, every time I drive by it on the way to Boston, I always think that, like, if you do a bad job, they just put you through your desk.
Yeah. They suplex you.
It's all just folding chairs and folding desks.
Yeah. They set up some metal stairs and they bash your face into them.
Another super important plot point for this family is that Grady describes his mom and his sister as looking real hot. They're blonde, they're
Right.
tall, they're skinny, they're just so hot.
Yeah,
but he looks like his dad, who's chunky and just a dumb, bumbling
Dumb
scientist.
idiot. Yeah.
This is an old RLS trope that we kind of got away from. Fat dad.
Yeah. Yeah, he always body shames the men.
The first, 3 or 4 books were just like, here's my dad again, fucking dripping a big cheeseburger down his fat ass crack,
Yeah.
piece of shit.
Yesterday I saw him in the shower and he has a little ass dick. Yeah. Why are the men always shamed in these books?
Well, I didn't mind that because
I mind because I'm a Meninist. And this is Meninist Corner. Meninist Corner.
Oh, wait, where's my hanky? Where is it? Wait, do men in this corner again, and I'll be the horn.
Okay. This is Meninist Corner. Meninist Corner.
Oh God,
That went horribly wrong.
Wait. There it is. Meninist.
Tom is passing out.
I think we're like an hour in.
You can't get the oxygen in fast enough.
Oh, my nose hurts so much now. Why am I trying to force bugs?
Don't
So the
force
main
your bugs.
character's name is Grady, which is fucking dumb.
Yeah, it's
and,
like a
he
cat's
really
name.
wants to go explore the swamp he moved into.
Right.
And Emily doesn't want to.
Because she's a teenager.
Yeah, and she misses her
She's too
boyfriend.
busy thinking about Martin, her boyfriend.
Yeah,
and
Martin.
like doing her makeup and stickers and sparkles.
Lisa Frank.
Yeah, and like combing her
Fucking
horses.
caboodles.
It was so far from Vermont all the way down to Florida, and she ran out of hit clips. So
Right,
just no
that's
new
right.
music to listen
She's
to.
been listening to 30 seconds of Candy Girl for the last hour.
That's right. And
Her Tamagotchi died somewhere in Virginia.
Yeah, but Emily doesn't want to go, but her dad, who constantly wants to make her miserable by taking her away from her entire life, her senior year of high school, and moving them into the middle of a swamp with only 6 other people who live there.
Yeah.
Says, no, you have to go into the swamp. And so she is forced to go into the swamp with Grady.
Yeah.
If I know anything about Florida, is that swamps there, that's bad.
It is
you
bad.
don't just walk into a swamp.
There's like constant gators.
yeah,
Like do we all have relatives who live in Florida? I feel like everybody
I
does.
did at one point.
I've been to Disney World
There you go.
a lot of times.
Show off.
Like a lot of times. We don't have to get into it, but it's like more times than people should go to Disney
Wow,
World.
well.
So,
Doing pretty well for yourself, huh?
Yeah. So Mickey Mouse is my dad.
Nice. Yeah, I have an uncle who lives in Florida, and once in a while he's like, "Yeah, there's just a gator in my pool," and I'm like, "Isn't that a problem?" It's like, "No, that's what happens here." It's like,
Yeah,
okay.
dogs are disposable there. They're just
Yeah.
You buy dogs to feed the wildlife.
Yeah,
When I would go to Florida, my mom would warn me that there was a type of dragon that had emigrated to Florida that would just eat like dogs and children. And so she told me to be worried about it all the time. And she would show me pictures of them so I wouldn't walk off without her. And this happened until I was like 12 years old. But I like dragons, always scary no matter how old you are.
Yeah, that's
And-
way more convincing than saying alligator.
No, but like they're real. There are dragons down there. But like they're like Komodo dragons.
Komodo
But it's not Komodo dragon. It's like a scarier. It's like it would be like if a Komodo dragon evolved into its next form.
Fuck.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's like this dragon calls Komodo dragon a pussy.
Yes, exactly.
It's got like a barbed wire tattoo, and it usually just gets worked as a bouncer.
Exactly that. So yeah, Florida is a scary place.
Yeah.
For many reasons.
Well,
swamps
yeah.
included.
Yeah.
And cocaine.
Yeah, the people too.
So
We love you, Florida listeners. Thanks for listening.
they basically walk through the swamp until they come across a bog.
They come into a bog.
A peat bog.
It's a peat bog, which beginning of this, like these kids learn a whole lot of useless shit about swamps that they are just blowing off in like
Right, yeah.
info on.
Yeah, his sister's like, that's the canopy, and this is the tertiary layer of the dirt.
I, as someone who's never read a Goosebumps book, was surprised that every chapter ended with a twist.
Mm-hmm.
And the twist of one of the early chapters was that they didn't reveal it was a peat bog yet, and they said it was quicksand.
Right.
Which I thought was really fun, because I thought this was going to be a quicksand book.
Yeah.
Just an entire book about quicksand. Even though the book is named Werewolf of Fever Swamp, it could have been like, and deep inside those quicksand is werewolf, but there was no quicksand, just a peat bog.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a great moment of just their lack of control in this crazy space where they throw a stick into the peat bog so they could watch it sink down, but then something spooky happens, so they look away, and when they turn back, the stick is already gone, and they didn't get to watch it sink into the peat bog. So like they're like, oh man, and they have to run away because it got spooky in there.
Yeah.
But they don't even get to enjoy the sinking stick.
Yeah, it's a waste.
It's a bummer.
Very
Yeah.
disheartening.
I like that we get some Monster Blood description on this. It says that it's constantly making a gurgling and plopping sound.
Right, yeah. Always some good visceral sensory description.
Yeah, he really knows how to describe like a viscous fluid and the
Yeah.
sound that it makes.
Like a shimmering farting ass. he's always good at that.
So they find a poop bog and they get real lost. And then they're like, oh, wait, I know where I'm going. But then they're lost again.
Right.
They just keep getting lost.
Yeah. This is when they find the hermit house, right?
They do.
Hermit house.
Yeah.
They find a little shed.
Yeah. Which they say a very funny line for me, where they say, who in their right mind would ever live in the middle of a swamp? Which is what they are currently doing.
Yeah, they do.
Like he lives in the middle of the swamp, but they live also pretty much in the middle of the swamp. They just have like 5 neighbors.
It is very close. Like the hermit is like, what would you say actually? Like half a mile, not even?
Yeah, not that deep into the swamp. It's not like Emily and Grady's chunky. He says it himself. So and when he runs, his sides hurt. So it's not like he like walked 2 miles to the hermit's house.
Yeah.
Like it was a football field away from his house. But
Yeah.
the hermit's the crazy one because he doesn't live next to all of the houses that look the same.
Yeah, because his door is a big leaf. So what?
Yeah, he has really long, greasy hair.
Yeah.
Like so does everyone's uncle. So
Come
like
on.
we love them.
Yeah.
It doesn't make them weird.
Fucking idiot.
The only thing is that the hermit is described basically as any character in a Rob Zombie film.
Yeah. Well, because when we see him, he like busts out of the house and like grunting and like and screaming, "I'm the wolf! I'm the wolf!" Right?
No,
That's later.
that's later.
Shit.
Yeah, that's later when he's accused of being the wolf.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, when they go back into the woods.
First, it sounded like a really small shed, so I just thought this was like someone's secret bathroom, which then got me into like, imagine if you had like a secret bathroom,
Oh,
like your own secret bathroom.
like Dave and I had a job that we worked together in college, and we had a secret bathroom.
We each had our own bathrooms.
Yeah.
Well,
There was the Paradise bathroom.
Paradise bathroom, Trouble in Paradise one time. It was a bathroom within a classroom, but they blocked it off with a big
table.
table, and just because they didn't put supplies in it.
Yeah.
But we put supplies in it.
Yeah.
And,
we just went around the table.
It was a secret bathroom. It had a
Wow.
shower and 2 bathroom stalls.
So if you take like a real stinky poop, you can clean
so
yourself
I would
off
go there.
afterwards.
Yeah.
That's right. That's exactly.
So I went there once and took a poop,
Uh-huh.
and then all of a sudden I hear the door open, And I'm like, what? It was like near the end of my shift.
Same idea.
So that classroom has a class that our program that we did had, and some lady got there 2 hours early. Went into the bathroom and
Moved the
started
table,
taking.
apparently.
Well, the table was moved because I was in it.
Oh, okay.
But I wouldn't do that when a class was coming. It was 2
Right.
hours before.
Yeah.
She started taking an aggressive pee.
Yeah.
Like I could hear it like going through every single tunnel on the way out. It was aggressive.
Uh-huh.
Then
Yeah, like all through her ovaries and her fallopian tubes. Like,
That's how
yeah,
it works.
all through her girl parts.
Much
yeah.
like the way pee is stored in the balls, pee is also stored in the phallopes.
of course,
I'm a feminist.
if I
I think you
watched
know.
her, I would have seen her boobs get smaller as the pee drained from. But then I was like, "Oh, this is so uncomfortable," and I'm sitting there with like my feet to the side. The door's locked, so she probably thought there was like another lady in there or something.
Right.
Then I see her purse plop down, and she's digging through it. And then I listen to this lady change her tampon and walk out. And I'm like, oh, no. I wait a little bit. And then I'm like, there's only one exit from this bathroom.
Yeah.
I open the door. There she is, sitting 2 hours early at the table. We catch eyes, and I walk away.
Trouble in Paradise.
Trouble in Paradise bathroom.
Yeah.
I want to go back a little bit because when I was 8 years old, my dad told me that if I take too stinky of a poop and not enough toilet paper, like there's not enough toilet paper in the world to clean the stinky poop that's still in my butt, I should just like take a shower and clean out my butt in the shower. Was that a bad thing he told me?
I think it sounds pretty clean. It sounds excessive.
Yeah.
Well, also, like...
Do you guys do that? Is that a normal thing? Is what I'm asking.
I've done it in my life.
Gotcha, but it's not like an everyday thing.
It's
not
not
an
an
everyday thing for. I take a normal poop most times.
Sometimes it's not because it's like, I mean, if it's too messy or stinky, you're probably sick. First of all, but then I've done it just because like sometimes you get like some backsplash and stuff, and yeah, that's a little disconcerting.
Also, I don't know if anyone's pooped in my bathroom here in my apartment, but...
I pooped right before this podcast because I wanted to be completely
All right,
clear.
let's talk. What about what's the quality of my toilet paper?
Too big for the roll. Right
Oh yeah,
now.
that wasn't me though. Someone bought toilet paper for me. They knew what kind I bought because they stayed here and they bought one that's too big for the roll. That's the problem.
So whenever I would pull a sheet out and like I'm using I'm using like 5 or 6 squares
That's how
per,
you do it, man.
per wipe.
Sure.
It would rip
would
off.
rip,
It would
yeah.
rip off with one square.
Yeah.
So I was playing like a devil's gamble. There was before I washed my hands. There was poop on my hands,
Right.
but like I washed my hands, so that's fine.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Did you guys?
There's also always wet wipes. Always wet wipes and always thick toilet paper.
I don't want to ruin your like septic tank with
Septic.
I rent.
He lives in the wilderness. Have you guys watched that Netflix show that everybody's talking about? I Think You Should Leave.
yes so much.
watched it?
It's about Tim Robinson's like my favorite comedian.
This reminds me of the Receipt sketch where with what's his face from Walking Dead.
Yeah. Where
And
he has
he's
too
like
small a
taking
slice.
too small a slice. Of
Yeah,
toilet
when I
paper.
had just the one square, I was like, "This is too small of a slice."
You're gonna get mud pie on
I'm
your
gonna
fingers.
Get mud pie on my fingers.
It's
watch it.
definitely
Oh,
up your alley.
We should watch it right after this
Yeah,
because
I'm
down with
that.
I've tried to get you to watch Detroiters multiple times.
I've watched a couple episodes.
And Detroiters, one of my favorite shows. It was a show before this.
Yeah.
So good.
Twitter exploded and was like, "I think you should leave as the funniest." And I was like, I'm always a little resistant to that. I don't know why, if that comes from like a deep pettiness or what that is.
Yes, it does. Go
But-
on.
But it turns out the internet's right. It's really, really good. It's so funny.
All right. I think we're an hour in and we haven't even gotten to the plot.
Yeah,
We gotta
fuck
start.
the
We
plot.
gotta start pushing.
All right.
But even if we just generalize,
Just
Well,
like my
all right.
poop
So
earlier.
basically, Hermit. They see the Hermit. He looks like a Rob Zombie guy. He's got a white skullet and he's wearing like sweatpants and like a big long white shirt.
Skull.
He looks
he's-
like our coworker Dana.
He does, except
Yeah.
like I think a little chunkier, maybe. And he has like a big dog T-shirt on that's like very long, and he just screams and chases them. And then they get back home and they talk to Dad, and they're like, "Dad, a hermit chased us," and he says,
Huh, weird.
I talked to people at the hardware store. They said he's harmless, and they're
Yeah.
like, "But this old man chased us," and they were like, "They said he's harmless."
It's fine.
Which comes back later, because there's a yeah. It comes. He. No one ever thinks that the Hermit is going to be a bad guy, except all of the children.
Yeah.
And so yeah, they come back, and then it turns out the reason why they call it Fever Swamp is because many years ago people went into the swamp, got fevers, and then just died. And if they didn't die, they would go crazy.
Yeah.
And so Chunky Grady comes back from the swamp and gets a fever. Emily doesn't get a fever, but Grady does get a fever. And he's really scared that he's going to get swamp fever.
Yeah.
But his mom gives him OJ. His hot mom gives him OJ.
Yeah.
And then he feels better.
And he's like, oh man, her hair smells so good tonight.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love my mom.
I asked for a hug so I can push my head against her supple chest.
Mommy moo moo.
And we also meet Will. So he's kind of upset after this traumatic experience where his dad's just like, shrug it off, don't be a puss. Meanwhile, an old man with a skullet chased him through an alligator home.
Right.
And he's just like throwing a ball by himself, which is like the ultimate lonely kid scene.
Right. He's like, and he's doing both voices. He's like, catch. And he's like, okay.
And then, coolest fucking character, maybe one of my top
Will?
5, top 3 characters in Goosebumps so far, Will hits the scene.
Well, he always looks like a badass.
Yeah.
Except for the one time that he looks like a fucked up little cyclist.
He wears Lycra bike shorts
Exactly.
in almost every scene. Except the final. But, God, this gets me. Because he wears black Lycra bike shorts with a dark blue top. And I'm like, what do you do? Like, it's a book. You could make the outfit look like anything.
Yeah.
Why is he clashing? Why is he doing that? Wearing that
They
dark...
always clash.
Maybe. We're going to find out later.
They have
why he
strong
clashes.
personality.
Yeah. Maybe he just doesn't give a shoot.
Maybe he doesn't give a howl.
Yeah. Who knows?
He doesn't give a werewolf.
So our boy gets a fever and he pretty much dies. Then he's healthy and they hear howling at night.
And it turns out it's a crossover. And it's Be Careful What You Wish For girl who wished that he was really sick. And he gets sick.
It's a throwback.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a throwback, Tom. You had to
throwback.
be there.
I listened to every episode, so I understand that one.
Okay.
Well,
that was a good Rodney Dangerfield shirt pull.
yeah, he was
there.
pulling his collar
Pull his
nervously.
collar and my dick is out.
Yes. And you're not wearing a robe.
yeah. Well, I don't wear a robe.
Yeah.
So that's the end of Act 1 of our story.
Yeah.
And Act 2 begins when Grady, who's very lonely and he misses all of his friends, and when he's very sick, he imagines all of his friends back in Vermont, and he gets these fever dreams where the hermit is chasing him, and he can't escape this hermit. But he meets a new friend.
Yeah.
And it's a dog.
Yeah. He names it Wolf.
Because it's massive and
Yeah.
looks like a wolf.
Yeah. And I want to say, I don't know if everybody had this reaction, but the whole time I was very nervous that Wolf would be killed.
I was going to talk about that because this is the one dog that I think is treated the best
It is.
out of every Goosebumps.
And I say-
every animal that's treated the best.
I say that early on that I was scared that it would be killed because it's not, which is great.
Well, there is a threatening of death.
But there's a threat
And we will
at all
get there because I
times.
think it is such an insane scene because I think the father is a terrible person.
No, I think it's reasonable. Compared to other Goosebumps, how they like literally the last book, the main character would leave the back door of their new house open, hoping the cat would run away. And was really upset that the movers didn't drop the piano on the cat.
Yeah, that was the last book we read.
Yeah.
Jesus. Well, let's keep going because I do want to get to the part where
Yeah.
the father threatens to shoot the dog in the face, metaphorically, but also a little bit like
a little bit literally.
yeah.
So he finds a dog. They hear scratching at night. Anytime they hear howling, they run downstairs, the whole family. Interesting thing with this Goosebumps book is that this is, for the little bit, this is a threat that not only the children see.
Right.
It's goes out to the point where the parents also hear the howling.
Yeah.
And the stuff going on and see what's up. And then even the town knows about the howling. So there's howling and scratching at the door.
Yeah. We should
Grady,
say,
who has a fever, just opens it up and looks outside.
yeah, he's pretty bold in that scene. He just goes outside and looks around. I don't know if, I think maybe just before that. I think at this point they've already found a dead crane. Is that correct?
Yeah, they found the dead crane on the
They
wall.
haven't found the other stuff yet.
Yeah, they find a dead crane, a dead rabbit.
Yeah.
And then the next day they find the dog, so they're like,
Feel like probably
maybe, but at the
dad is, you know.
Yeah,
is
and
like-
Emily definitely doesn't like the dog.
Emily
but like,
is scared
but
of the
Grady
dog.
like has no friends besides Will, and
Right.
which is sad. And so Yeah, and so they go and to the swamp again with Will this time. I'm pretty sure that's what happened next.
Yeah, they explore the swamp.
So here's the thing. Every time they go to the swamp, something fucked up happens. But Will comes over every morning. He's like, yeah, you want to go back in the swamp? And they're like, oh, yeah, fuck yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he's never discouraged, even though he always has a bad time.
Yeah.
And it's revealed that a person has gone missing.
Mr. Warner.
Mr. Warner has gone missing. He likes to go into the swamp and hunt turkeys, and then he hangs turkeys upside down so they drain the blood out right in front of his house. And Grady goes, well, that's kind of gross. And then Will goes, no, it's not. And Grady's like, all right. But he goes missing. And so they go into the swamp, and they are... is this the point where they meet Cassie? In the story.
Right.
So they are approached by Cassie, who is the third person Grady and Will's age, and she's a girl. And she thinks that it's a werewolf that is attacking people. And this is about 2/3 into the book when werewolves are brought up. So the book is called Werewolf of Fever Swamp, and it isn't until 2/3 in that we get the first reference to a werewolf.
Yeah.
But we did get a lot about Fever Swamp. We learned the lore of Fever Swamp. He gets the fever. We get it.
We did also, at a certain point, Emily jokes like maybe it's a werewolf. Like they mention the word a few times, but it's never pushed the way that.
Yeah, and like the dog is named Wolf, and so like because the name of the book is Werewolf of Fever Swamp, it's
peppered
at the
in.
very beginning you know werewolves are involved.
Yeah.
But this is the passage that I read at the start of the podcast. That is from right after the chapter where he learns that it's possibly a werewolf, and he's very scared of that it's possibly a werewolf.
Yeah.
And while he's talking about werewolves, Cassie says that I think the swamp hermit is the werewolf.
Yeah.
And the swamp hermit overhears this and just starts chasing them, yelling, "I'm the werewolf! I'm the werewolf!"
Yeah, which
I'm
is
the werewolf."
frightening. It's
Very frightening. Like whether or not he's a werewolf, he is an adult man, deranged, yelling and screaming at children.
Yeah.
And so they go home. Grady tells his dad, and the dad says, "Yeah, well, he's just a normal guy."
They're very defensive.
But there's a point too where he says, maybe you just, maybe don't talk to him.
Maybe
now.
stop
like,
doing
stay
this.
away from
Yeah.
him. Like
Yeah.
you visit him every day, and
Yeah.
every day you have a bad story. Just
Let's
which
chill.
is kind of still too reasonable for a place where a grown man who hunts in the swamp, gone for like a week. Boy shows up there, is disappeared, and then just a man is harassing their kids.
Yeah.
But they still are allowed to hang out there every day.
I know, yeah.
So the father, we have said multiple times, doesn't care about the kids in any way. When they think, at one point they think there's a burglar in the house, but it turns out just Wolf who's like slamming against the window. The dad just lets Grady go first. Like, go down the stairs and investigate the burglar first. When he gets attacked by the swamp hermit, just doesn't care. Doesn't care. The first time that the dad cares about anything in the entire book is there is one night where a werewolf attacks the deer.
Yeah.
And one of the deer is killed. And the father's first reaction to a deer being killed is, "We have to murder your dog."
Yes.
And that is the first time he ever cares about anything. He doesn't care that a swamp hermit is yelling at his children and chasing after them. He very much cares about his deer, though.
Can I make an amendment to the story about them chasing him?
Yeah.
We forgot this special detail to the point where the swamp hermit is carrying a bloody sack, which Will says maybe it's someone's head, and is covered in blood.
Yeah. Is this the scene though where Will gets left behind and the swamp hermit's like, "Man, I'm just kidding," or was that later? He was like, "I'm a jokester. I was just yelling, I'm a werewolf because I heard you," and that's later.
So Grady falls in the mud because he's a fat idiot. And he's just always tripping in the mud, and he just can't handle running. And he gets up and then falls into the mud a second time.
Right.
Which is also funny. Because, like, one chapter ends with him falling in the mud, and R.L. Stein is just like, gotta make him fall into the mud again in the second chapter.
I know I used it, but it's good. I'm going to lean into
They were like,
it.
RLS, you don't need this other... He falls 4 times.
Yeah.
This book doesn't need to be that long. You don't have to write about how he drops every Skittle and is still eating them out of the mud.
Right.
Yeah. And then the swamp hermit said, I'm just kidding, but you better watch out for that dog. And so Grady's like, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Thought the swamp hermit was bad, but now I got to watch out for my dog. And listen, Grady loves his dog, but part of him kind of knows that if there is a werewolf, it's most likely his dog.
Right. That he named Wolf.
Named Wolf. It's and so he's like thinking, and then just all of a sudden gets bit by a snake and passes out.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is, in my mind, the scariest thing in this book.
Yeah.
Because it is a very, very scary environment with like alligators and dragons and snakes. And
Like you throw in the dragons.
yeah, and he just got bit by a snake. Just like that was the most dangerous thing.
Yeah.
He was walking and he was talking about like just very serious, like, yeah, if it is a venomous snake, the venom is probably going to my heart right now, and I'll drop dead.
It's like a war movie. Like, you can tell how they describe it when he's getting up. It's like that scene where the bomb goes off. Everyone's just like, hey, we gotta get out. Hey,
Yeah.
and he's just like, and Wolf, who usually runs ahead and does things, like, is at his side the whole time.
Yeah.
And, like, helping him through.
Yeah.
And then
Wolf
he
is
gets
always
Will to grab his dad. His dad pulls him in, and he's just like, a green snake's not poisonous.
Yeah.
Stop being a puss, boy.
Again, yeah, suck it up.
Yeah. I'm a scientist.
So let's just wrap this shit up. What happens? It's they go
So then it's the last night of the full moon.
yeah.
Because it's been many days of the full moon, and it's the last day of the full moon, and he goes to sleep and then wakes up and hears howls.
Right.
So he goes outside, and this is after the deer is killed. And
Yeah.
that's a big
And his
moment.
dad's upset and they have to
Dad's
send
very
away the
upset,
dog.
Wants to kill the dog.
Yeah.
So that the dog doesn't get killed, Grady sends Wolf away.
Right.
And so he goes out and hears the howls, and as he goes out, our buddy Will is there.
He goes out because actually Wolf comes back and he sees Wolf from the window and he follows Wolf into the woods.
Exactly. Yeah. So
Wolf acting strange.
Yeah.
yeah. And so he goes into the forest, and his buddy Will is there,
Right.
and he's looking good. He's wearing black jeans with a dark hoodie.
He's smoking a cigarette.
He's smoking a cigarette.
He just watched Donnie Darko for the first time, and he's like, actually, this is like 10 years too early for
Yeah,
that.
he's like cellar door, and there it is. Yeah, and so they walk, and while they're walking, Grady loses Will, doesn't know where Will is, and all of a sudden he gets attacked while he's near the swamp hermit's house.
Yeah.
He gets attacked by a werewolf, and he looks up. He's like, "Oh, I recognize that face," and it turns out it's Will.
Guys, it's Will the whole time.
Will's
Will
the
the whole
werewolf.
time. He's a Will Wolf.
He is. And so Will bites Grady, and it looks like this is going to be the first dead kid.
Flashes of red.
Yeah.
Describe
very
the
scary.
blood.
But Wolf comes to save the day. And we kind of doubted Wolf because when the swamp hermit looked like he was attacking, Wolf didn't do anything. He was
Wolf
kind of
ran away.
Wolf ran away.
Yeah.
But when there was actual danger, Wolf stepped up and saved him.
Yeah.
And he what's it called? Grady passes out. Will runs into the forest. Wolf chases him and passes out. When he wakes up, he's in his bed, and the swamp hermit had saved him. So a little redemption. He's not a bad guy. He saves him, and then comes the final major twist. We're into the last chapter. Grady wakes up. Will is gone. It turns out no one has lived in Will's house for many, many years. So Will is
His dad goes to talk with Will's parents.
Yeah.
To be like, hey, my son got bit. Was it your kid?
Yeah.
Yeah. And Will's parents don't exist.
The house
Orphan.
has been.
Yeah.
They said the house has been abandoned years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he they go out and it's like, oh, I guess we just live here now. And then at night he sneaks out, and it's the first full moon since the Grady Will fight. And it turns out Grady, through the bite, had the curse passed on to him, and he too is a werewolf now. Mm-hmm. And he's very excited because this swamp was a very dangerous place, but now Wolf and Grady the werewolf could explore the swamp and hunt together.
Yeah.
And so the very last line of the book is, sorry I didn't prepare this immediately, but I thought it was a great line. Let's go, Wolf. Let's hurry to Fever Swamp. I'm ready to hunt. Mm-hmm. Last line of the book.
It's actually not a bad last line of the book.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Comparatively.
Well, the last one was just like, hey, I play baseball now. The end.
Right. Yeah.
So,
Cool.
great.
Here's overarching statement for this book. I thought it was kind of down the middle. I was expecting. I thought it was good, but I don't have a lot of notes, honestly, and which I didn't react to a lot in this book in the way that I did to almost every other book. I think it was like competent enough where you don't have to. It's like I've said this before on the podcast. It's like reading a paper that's a B. If you're grading it, it's like I don't have a lot to say here. I think it's like it's good.
You did the work. You made a story. You got it. Yeah.
So you get a B. I don't have to write a lot of comments because you won't expect it because you've gotten a B. You won't push back. But what's there to say? You met the requirements. You did your job. So off you go.
I went to see The Room last night, like a midnight screening. People were very excited to see it. And The Room is like an F paper. And the movie that they made about The Room, like James Franco did, I think is like a B paper. Where it's a good movie. Not much to say about it. The fact that The Room is an F paper, there's so much to say. Like
that's the thing.
It's like way more exciting to talk about.
You can't fill in the margins enough when it's an F paper. Yeah, you have a lot to say.
I feel like that was our problem. The last podcast, I talked to some people. Shout outs to Ryan Voigt and Matt Ford.
Thanks, guys.
And just said like it was.
Thank you.
The book was what it was. And it was not a bad book.
Piano
was not a bad book.
It's not a bad book. I thought it was kind of exciting. It's, it had a lot of twists and turns. You think, so Tom was saying before that this book was a little convoluted. Piano is fucking convoluted.
Yeah. It's just like, well, for listeners to the live episode, I was a contributor to the fake names of books that Matt had to answer. And one of the ones I came up with was Stranded on Werewolf Island, which I thought was such an absurd idea because if you're going to make a werewolf book, it'll just be the werewolf book. Yeah. You're not going to add like being marooned on an island and like pirate stuff. You're not going to add all these things. But it turns out that's exactly what he does.
Yeah.
Now that I've read this is my first Goosebumps book, I can say R.L. Stein just goes, well, I need to fill up a book. So the first half will be about fevers. The second half will be about like what are kids most scared of? Getting a hot head, be all fevery, and then werewolves. So those are the two things that kids are scared of, and he made a book out of it.
More often than not, there are a lot of twists and turns, whether you see them coming or not. It's
misdirection has been something he's been playing with a lot in the most recent books.
Yeah.
This one, they do a lot of lore about this swamp, but in the end, it really has nothing to do with anything.
Yeah.
They even talk about how wolves aren't even a thing in this part of Florida.
Right.
That's not a thing. There are no wolves, but there's a wolf here. We learned that Will is kind of transient, going from town to town. He's probably a kid. Well, there's so many questions I have. Is Grady going to be a kid forever? Is Will a kid who maybe became a werewolf and killed his parents and now is just traveling from town to town like a drifter? We don't know. But yeah, there's a lot to unpack. So what about writing?
Tom, you can go first. What
Tom,
did you like
also,
best?
I don't think we noticed, Tom, you went to the NYU Tisch program for playwriting.
Yes, I did do that. So
as a scholarly podcast with a literature professor here.
Use your literary mind and
so I'm going to go say what the best writing is. Could I go into my insane ideas about themes in this book?
Sure.
Yeah, that's what this is for.
Cool. So we are living in a very isolated age. We are all very alone, and we're all trying to fill our holes in some ways.
You can say that again.
There's apps for that, though.
Yeah, we got beer, we got apps, we got Goosebumps, we got a lot of things we're trying to fill in. And one thing that isolation often leads to is making antagonists or making outsiders. So like if you're isolated, you want to make a group and then put people on the outside.
Sure.
So these people who live in the swamp community make the swamp hermit into the bad guy.
Right.
And when you live in this isolating community, there are people who hold the power over you, like the scientists, like the parents. And so these experts are like, you have to live here. You have to leave all of your friends. You have to be more alone than ever, and you have to enjoy it. And the father only cares about the deer and doesn't care about his kids in any way. And so when Grady sees this werewolf kill a deer and finally break open this literal cage and like destroy the thing that is binding him, I think that thrills him a little bit. And I think the idea of being a werewolf like becomes an exciting thing.
He takes to it very well.
Yeah, because it's like, oh, I am trapped in this world. There's no way I could ever escape it. I am alone, and my only friend tried to kill me, and I can't be friends with a girl because it's the 90s.
Right.
And so it kind of like shows like in this isolating age, you could either be broken under the foot of someone above you, like Emily is, just like completely broken, just stays in her room all day, very sad and very depressed. Or you could get violent, and you could get radical, and you could be a revolutionary, and you could start murdering people as a werewolf.
And he solidifies this partnership with, I think his best friend is Wolf.
His best friend is Wolf.
Yeah.
And Wolf is thought of by everyone in the book as a maniac and crazy, because instead of trying to sleep inside and like tucked in a cozy, he wants to be outside. He wants to live by the night, and he wants to be able to explore. He wants to be able to hunt. And in a very isolating age, especially an isolating age led by logic and reason of these scientists, the animal urges and being insane becomes a very exciting thing.
Yeah.
And it turns out that the experts in animals don't know a single thing. Like, we've been told to trust the experts, to trust logic and reason, but the werewolf isn't known about by the animal scientists. How could these animal scientists who found this rare swamp deer not know about werewolves? And so if they don't know anything, if no one knows anything, and we're all isolated, why not become the violent one and become the one who controls everything?
This is something I want to talk about too, where I feel like naming the chill but cool, level-headed character William Blake was very, very on the nose and purposeful, because the idea, everybody knows William Blake basically for, like, you know, the idea of fearful symmetry.
Yeah,
like
he's the tiger,
which is one of the coolest, the most overdone poems of all time, but the idea of it's really cool for his he made a lot of etchings, William Blake. That's like, people know his poetry, but like his art, he made etchings, and one of the big deals is for that poem, he made this, I think it was a copper coin, and it's an etching where on one side is the tiger, and with the relief on the other side is a lamb. And the whole idea of that poem is, how crazy is it that the God who we worship and wants us to stay alive, and we say is the shepherd of us and everything, is what keeps us safe, but the person who made and pulled the sinews and the muscle to make the tiger, which is here to destroy us and kill us, also made the lamb. To the point where this is the one who damns us, this is the one who saves us. Having Will Blake, the child, and the idea that he frequently goes into about religion is nowhere near as powerful as nature, and the power of nature and the existence really goes into the scientists and the deer in the cage. They're trying to pull nature and preserve nature and place something to save it. They're like, we need to save these deer, so we're pulling them to Florida and keeping them in this pen to see what we can do, while nature itself is happening beyond it. Like, everything outside and in the swamp is so insane and crazy, and they're giving this sample size of something else in for the idea that they're saving it, when in reality it's like the chaos and the power of everything is out of their hands, and they can try and keep this small cage and keep everything together, but look at Will. He's the one who finds the true power and finds the true meaning of what's going on through, I guess, like, that chaos, which is awesome.
Yeah, and like, how chaotic is nature that the very story that we are telling gets disrupted by nature in the snake biting scene. Yeah. Where like, oh no, like we don't need a snake biting scene because we have like werewolves now, and we still have the fever swamp thing to go back to. We've got a lot of plate spinning, and the snake doesn't care. The snake doesn't care. The snake's gonna come in. The snake is gonna bite you, even if you're worried about werewolves and Cassie and all these.
It has its own role.
Yeah, it has its own role. It is more powerful than you. So you could either try and lock yourself up in your house and just like stay within this isolating society, or you could become the snake. You know,
which is what Wolf wants to do.
And
I guess what Grady at heart wants to do, and he fulfills that role, and he does it with a
whether
smile.
or not he wanted to, because I don't think radicalization in itself is a good thing or a bad thing. I don't think Grady, when he lived in Vermont in this cool town, like in this very cold town with all his friends, he goes sledding and stuff, I don't think he was in a position to try and rebel against his dad and to try, but being broken down this many times over the course of the 123 pages of 23-point font double spaced. He becomes radicalized.
Well, when you're displaced too, now you have a reason to sort of analyze yourself and discover yourself and explore new territories. And he gets this exposure and this new perspective, and I think that helps him ultimately to free him.
I think it is very easy to trust your superiors and to trust your bosses and when things are going good.
Yeah.
If you're like, you could be taken advantage of every single step of the way, but if you are doing okay at the end, like if you're fine, as soon as you are being put in danger and nothing is being put there to help you, that's when you're like, well, if the structures that are keeping me down aren't even helping me, I've got to break them. I've got to destroy them.
There's a lot of themes with William Blake that fits into that idea as well. I like the parallel. This is a small scene that I wrote down that I really liked, where one of the scariest scenes I think is the swamp hermit, where they catch him and they're trying to hide as he's carrying a sack through the woods covered in blood, and he's like carrying it and having trouble and like whatever. But the scene that I think parallels with that is his dad coming home from the hardware store with the wire netting for the fence. And it's about how, like, well, he's walking, he's exhausted, he's covered in blood, and he's got this sack. Meanwhile, the dad, he couldn't even fit it in his truck, and it's, like, overflowing, and he kept the window open. And it's to the point where the hermit, who doesn't have a name, like, even conventionalized with language, lives in the swamp and is just living his life, and that's him eating. He goes, he killed, he's bringing it back. Mr. Warner does the same thing, but hangs it in front of his house.
That's what I was thinking. Where like you make the outsider so that you could
Exactly.
you could have a working society, because a working society needs to have some type of scapegoat. So they
some common.
So like the swamp hermit becomes this guy like, oh my god, he's covered in blood and he's like killing things.
Yeah.
And Will is like, that's weird and disgusting. But like 20 pages earlier, when Grady is like, yeah, Mr. Werner just hangs out dead animals outside of his house. Grady's like, Will is just like, yeah, it's normal. That's a normal thing. If you are a normal person, you could do abnormal things and it's fine. But as soon as we think of you as abnormal, like all of your actions, like whether or not the swamp hermit is the werewolf, which he is not, he becomes the werewolf. When he shouts, "I am the werewolf, I am the werewolf," he is embodying that chaos, because that's all he could do on these fringes of society. He has to in some way become the werewolf to protect himself.
He's being playful too. He's co-opting this thing because he's like, of course, like the kids would think that I'm the freak who lives in the swamp, so I'm the werewolf, etc., etc. Turns out he's totally fine. And when he's saying like, watch out for your dog, I think because he knows there's an external threat. So I know you have your dog outside all the time, it could be put in danger. Not your dog might be the wolf, which is what he interprets it as, which is fine. That's understandable.
And I mean, it could also, that line has a lot of multiple meanings you could dig into it, because it could also be like Grady was in that place, and when he says watch out for that dog, like he could not be talking about Wolf, he could be talking about Grady.
Right.
Because
Will.
It feels like the fact that Will is going to the swamp hermit's house is a very scary scene if Grady is not there and if Wolf isn't there. Because why is Will going out there to the swamp hermit's house? What is Will's goal? Is he trying to protect his friend Grady, and if anyone ever threatens it, or is he just trying to, like, he was threatened when he was a human, so he's so angry at this person for threatening him that he goes there to
I think he's just going into the wood. I think there's an imperative there that he even knows in human form, which is like, I'm gonna turn and I'm gonna I end up here anyway, I'm gonna go here.
Did we say too that after he gets bit by Will, that he passes out and ends up in his bed because the swamp hermit found him in the woods and brought him to his father?
That's right.
Saved him.
Yeah.
So I don't think we said that, but so yeah, we got a lot of good themes.
Cool.
Good writing. Anything you want to run down?
Do you have anything that stands out, Tom?
I had that thing at the start that I thought was like the best scene. I have some good writing. Actually, let me look through the book a little bit.
That's fine. So I got like 4 things I'll just run through real quick. I think there's a good, decent sensory detail on page 6/7. It says, the most surprising thing about the swamp was all the sounds. A bird trilled from somewhere above. Another bird replied with a shrill whistle. Insects chittered loudly all around us. I heard a steady tap, 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 like someone hammering on wood. A woodpecker? ? Palm leaves crackled as they swayed. Slender tree trunks creaked. My sandals made a thup, thup, sound, sinking into the marshy ground as I walked. That's really nice. He focuses on just purely sounds for a paragraph, and there's some nice sensory detail. And there are words that, this is a children's book. So when you say a bird trilled and there's a shrill whistle and insects chittered, and those are words that sound like what they mean. Is that onomatopoeia?
Yeah.
So, it's just pretty interesting. There's on page 78, there's a nice description of, the swampy sort of heat of Florida, where heat rises from the grass. It says heat waves shimmered up from the grass, making the house appear to bend and quiver. And that's relatable. Like, we see the heat sort of bend your, wherever you're looking. It's like you're looking through like an old window or something. There's great description on page 81. Where it says, we stepped into the shade of the trees at the swamp edge. A funnel cloud of white gnats whirred crazily in a shaft of light between the trees.
I just like that because it said shaft.
I enjoyed that too. He should have just said dick, right?
A dick of light touched the ground's pussy.
A big dong of light.
We had way too much literature talk.
Yeah, it was too serious for too long.
Butts.
Butts, jizz. Page 103, it says, staring straight ahead, I took another step. I could see it all clearly now. A scene of death. Pale light and shadows. The only sounds were the pounding of my heart, the swell of the wind, and the rattling of the wire mesh of the pen. So again, there's a silence that falls, and he focuses on these key sounds, so there's sensory detail again. And then there's drama here, because he says, a scene of death, period. And then the next entire sentence is pale light and shadows, which is not a sentence, but in the context of this paragraph, he makes it work to literary effect, and I think it is effective. That's what I had for good writing.
Yeah, I found some things. So early on, this isn't great writing per se, but it's I think it was good storytelling, which is on page 37, walking through the darkness, I bumped into a low table in the hall. I still wasn't used to this new house. And so through action, it is shown he's really not used to this place that he's moved into. So instead of just telling the reader, he's new here, you could be like, he doesn't even... if you live in a house long enough, you could walk through it with your eyes closed and not bump into anything. But he has no idea what he's doing.
And you're tapping into something too. I like that you're giving him credit, but this is an RL thing where he says, "I bumped into the table," and then there's the next sentence explains why. It's
gotcha.
I'm not used to this house. That's why I did that. And so he still shows and tells. Where it would be better if he just showed. But it is an important detail considering through the lens, of course, the whole time that this is a kid's book. I think it is pretty good.
Yeah. This is just a paragraph I liked. It's on page 43. I gazed toward the deer pen. I could see their shadowy forms, still and silent. The hot wind rustled the grass. The cicadas began chirping again.
Yeah.
Nice. Real nice. And then the horniest section is on page 48. It is about Grady's sister, who he is very horny for, which, much like the Fever Swamp, that plot line kind of gets dropped near the end. His horniness for Emily kind of gets subjugated into his violence as a werewolf.
Sure.
But page 48, Emily appeared in the doorway, still in the long t-shirt she used as a nightshirt. I think this clears up the mystery, she said to me, yawning sleepily and pulling her blonde hair behind her shoulders with both hands.
It smelled like strawberry VO5.
Yeah, and... I don't know. It's I guess it's not the horniest thing I've ever read.
It's pretty horny, but especially the way you read it.
Yeah. well, I'm horny. It's just I don't know if RL is horny, but I just didn't understand. It's one of those things where RL loves describing clothes and colors and what people look like. But when it comes to your sister, you're she's wearing a long nightshirt and nothing else, and she has her blonde hair and she pulls it back with her jutting breasts. I know I'm adding words to it, but it's like jazz. It's the notes they didn't play that are really fun. So that's why I think that's the horniest.
It's an extra long shirt so that the bottom could be used as a J rag.
I'll just blow through mine. This is gonna be a long one. I'm fine with that. I talked about the description of the swamp is extremely moist and itchy. The first venture into the swamp, there's so many words that describe it as being moist. Just little things where it says Yuck, Emily muttered. I hate gnats. It makes me itchy just to look at them. Just the things. My sandals crackled over dried brown palm leaves. Beads of sweat ran down my cheeks. They are so wet. I felt like if I was swimming. And it grows more and more, and there's just more description. Like, I was really sweating now. The back of my neck felt hot and itchy. I rubbed it with one hand, and it didn't seem to help. The breeze had stopped. The air felt heavy. Nothing moved. Loud calling sound. And he just talks about, like, itchy. And every now and then drops those words in.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like when you describe something. So I work at a school, and they talk about how, like, in the winter it's like lice season. And anytime someone talks about lice, your head just starts to get itchy.
Yeah.
And it was really just kind of this, like, teetering
power of suggestion.
that he put in. That was really cool. I love that we got sick sucking noise again, but we already discussed that. I loved this scene with a nervous laughter between Will and Grady. Says, "Do you think a deer would scratch at the door?" I asked. Oh no, this is him and Em, his sister. "Do you think a deer would scratch at the door?" I asked. Maybe it wanted a glass of water, Emily exclaimed, and we both laughed some more. Giddy laughter, nervous laughter. We both cut our laughter short at the same time and listened. And that's like the scene where they're both down there and they're like, ha ha ha, and they're like, oh fuck, like something's going on. I thought that was cool. I like the use of color. Everything is described as yellow, a shade of brown, a lot of yellows, a lot of browns, and pale is added to any other like color that's out there in like the wilderness, which is cool. Really built a world visually. When Grady finds that gored bird, it sits in his head, and the vision of it like fucks with him. Yeah, and it's really well done. And I would like the writing on that where it says he's talking to his dad about what he saw. He says, "No, Dad, this is different." I insisted. The heron, it was ripped in two. I mean, like someone took it and it just fades off. He's like, "Another bird, maybe," Dad said, concentrating on the deer hoof. "A larger bird of prey could have been." "We saw the swamp hermit," I interrupted. "He had blood all over his shirt. Then we saw paw prints in the ground, all around the dead bird." And it just keeps going. And just at night, he says, like, "But no matter what I did, I kept seeing the white feathers scattered over the ground, the torn apart bird laying crumpled on the path. So now I felt a little comforted with Wolf sleeping in my room. You'll protect me, won't you, boy?" I whispered from my bed. Just like it really sit with him. Yeah. And that was kind of awesome. Yeah. And when the monster appears, I thought it was cool too. But I want to do some bad stuff.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I got page 2. There's just some over explanation. It says, when he's introducing his dad, it says, lowering my binoculars, I turned to look at them. The deer were the reason we had moved to Florida. And then he goes, literally it says, "You see, comma, my dad, comma, Michael F. Tucker, is a scientist. He works for the University of Vermont in Burlington." It's just very on the nose, just like I'm reading his resume. Yeah. The UC is like atrocious to me. It should not be in there at all.
It was also weird how Grady's mother, also a scientist, also doing this experiment,
gets no explanation,
and didn't do a single scientist thing the entire book. Yeah.
It's all dad stuff.
And is described as not as scientific as my dad is, which is crazy. But that's,
It does say, it says like mom is a scientist too, but then it pairs her directly with dad again. It says she and dad work together on a lot of projects, so of course she agreed with him. Yeah, it is bullshit. On page 11, there's a question that doesn't have a question mark. It's just sort of insane. It says, like, I don't know. It says, "Why don't you drink some and see how it tastes?" she urged, and doesn't have a question mark. That's bothersome. On page 27, there's just overuse of the word horse. He says that he has a hoarse voice, and it's in there twice. It's in here somewhere. I don't have to read it. Then on page 85, it talks about the latest kill. I think this is the rabbit at this point, and it says "torn apart," pause, "as if by a werewolf," question or exclamation point. And that's sort of insane. And something RL has done before on page 102, it says "what a mystery," which sucks. It says "what a mystery," I thought. What a strange mystery.
You hate when your mysteries get strange.
It's just...
I can deal with a mystery, but a strange one?
Come on, RL. I'm only a boy. What do you guys
You
got?
got bad stuff, Tom?
I only got two that like pointed out that I like felt where I was just like, well, what are you doing? Which is there's one section where he just describes R.L. Stein loves colors. He just anytime he describes something, he includes a color. So he said, this is after he has the fever and he gets better. He's like, climbing out of bed, I realized I felt fine. Yellow morning sunlight poured in through the window. I could see a clear blue sky. The beautiful morning made me forget my nightmares. And then the next paragraph, I got dressed quickly, pulling on pale blue jeans and a black and silver Raiders t-shirt. I'm not a Raiders fan. I just like their colors.
So,
And
keep going. That's on mine too for a reason. Different reason.
and I was like, yeah, RL, we know you like colors. We get, like, that would be like him kind of just like showing his cards a little bit. Where it's like, yeah, I don't do anything because I actually like the embodiment of the Raiders or the shirt or what it is. I just like the colors. I think colors are neat.
We talked about this before. Somebody in
It's
Be Careful What You Wish For
wears an Orlando Magic's hat,
Yeah.
which the dad also wears in this one. He recycles a lot of details because we've hit the point where now R.L. Stein's writing a book a month.
Oh, God.
Right.
So this is a detail, the whole thing where a kid wears the Orlando Magic hat just because he likes the colors.
Yeah. This book, too, I saw on the wiki, has sold to date like over 4 million copies or something like that. Like it's like the 9th best-selling children's book of all time. This number 14 in particular, Werewolf of Fever Swamp. So, yeah, he's churning them out. He's making millions. I mean, so the fact that there's a level of care here at all is kind of astounding.
And then one more. No, I didn't hear anything, Will replied. I'm a very sound sleeper. My dad comes into my room and shouts through a megaphone to wake me up in the morning. Really? We all laughed.
Wow, we missed that detail. That's fucking insane.
Which is, like, I think whenever a writer goes, I made a brilliant joke, so brilliant, I'm going to have every character in the vicinity of this joke start laughing, is just an insane thing.
Yeah.
And Will, who is like, Will's fine. That wasn't a funny joke.
It wasn't.
Yeah. And, like, the dad doesn't care about anything besides deer. Why would he laugh at a megaphone joke? You know? Like, so we all laughed. It was just like one of those RL feeling really proud of his really funny joke that he came up with.
Yeah.
And that's what I thought.
I have that on here, too. Just that there should have been... It was so shitty, like, laugh track. Like, this is where you laugh. And I really didn't like that.
Yeah.
I talked about how he opens the door for no reason, and the explanation of that's bad. Where it's just like, I was feverish. I don't even know why I opened that door. Like, and I'm like, all
we
right.
didn't need that.
He reused the detail. This pissed me off. I had the thing about the question mark. I also had this sentence, which comes up. Yeah, let's go. I said enthusiastically. We can throw sticks in it and stuff and watch them sink. They're talking about M's vagina, I think. And and they said, do you think anyone ever got sunk in the bog? Will asked thoughtfully. Is that like
Sunk in the bog?
Do you think anyone ever got sunk?
Yeah, it's not great.
Is that
I kind of like it.
anyone ever got sunk?
I feel like that's like a swamp term for being really drunk. Like, oh, last night I got real sunk in the bog.
No, but like got real
deep
sunk. Like, oh, do you think they got sunk?
Right.
Is that right?
Well, I mean, a better way to phrase it is, do you think anyone ever sank into the bog?
Yeah.
Nah, but I think Will's a dumb piece of shit. Like,
But I read it so many times, and I was like,
Got sunk, whatever. Yeah.
And the thing too is that like if it's, I was like, well, maybe he's talking as if it's like a kid's speech, but I'm like, well, that's not true, because he'll always have a kid just be like, I had some sweet candy, and how, like,
Yeah.
Meowza.
It is.
Pretty much,
It's
yeah.
improper.
All right, so now we're at that final point,
Spook and scare.
spook and scare. Tom, do you want to go to your top spook and scare? What part of the book was this top spook and scare for you?
Oh, I think just I mean, like I know I brought it up a bunch, but I think it is like the centerpiece of my my thematic reading of this book. But the snake, I think the snake is so scary because we're dealing with werewolves and being like, yeah, werewolves are the scariest thing this universe could pop up with, and they just get attacked by a real thing that exists, which is snakes.
Right. Yeah.
So I thought that was spook. Cool. That was scare.
Maddie?
I think The Hermit Chase, page 85, 86. And that, I believe, is when he is screaming that he's a werewolf. So it says, the swamp hermit burst out of the weeds right behind us. I'm the werewolf, he shrieked. His eyes were wild, excited. His face, surrounded by his long, tangled hair, was bright red. I'm the werewolf. So he's laughing at the top of his lungs. He began to swing the turkey in a wide circle over his head.
Which is like open and bleeding.
Yeah.
So he's just firing blood in the air.
See, just reading that, I just felt like I couldn't get away. And that's what sort of made me choose that.
I have a weird one where even after I was like, I don't think this will be it, but it sat with me.
Mm-hmm.
It's after Grady opened the door and M's reaction to it.
Oh,
I don't know if you remember this, where it's just like he opens the door and he's like, I don't know how I did it.
To
But he's
find
like,
out, like,
a
what's
gust
out
of
there.
hot, wet air rushed in through the open door. The chirp of cicadas greeting my ears. Nothing. I'm going to skip around. So it's like the cicada stopped suddenly and all was quiet. Too quiet. I squinted into the distance towards the blackness of the swamp. Nothing moved. Nothing made a sound. I waited for my eyes to adjust in the darkness. The moonlight sent a pale glow over the grass. In the far distance, I can see the black outlines. We talked about that. Just like who or what had scratched the door. Where were they hiding in the darkness? Watching me? Waiting for me to close the door so they could begin the frightening howls again? Grady, close the door. I could hear my sister's voice behind me. She sounded so frightened. Grady, do you see something? Do you? No, I told her. Just the moon. And Emily's like, Grady, come back. Close the door. Emily's voice was shrill and trembling. And then it's like there was no one out there. Grady, shut the door now. And just like it just like continues as they get detail, and it just builds and builds and builds of her just like shut the door. Like it's like those very horror movie, and I like that a lot.
I liked a lot of the fever dreams he had early on. One of the scariest moments in book reading that I had, and this was like 4th or 5th grade, was Silverfin, the first young James Bond book. And there's a scene where he has to get into a castle, and the only way he could do it is swim underwater into the castle. And as he's swimming into this cavern, it slowly getting smaller and smaller. And James Bond at one point goes like, oh, if it gets any smaller, I don't have enough air to get back out. I will die, and I'm just going to be trapped down here. And I didn't tell anybody I'm going down here. There's no way out. My body's not going to like float up because I'm just stuck in this cavern. Everything I was really like being stuck somewhere like, oh, this is where I die. So his dream about the peat bog, I was sinking in the peat bog. It gurgled all around me, green and thick, making these sick sucking sounds. It was sucking me off. Sorry. It was sucking me down. Down. Yeah. That was my bad. I just misread it.
The words are very similar.
Off, down.
So best dressed, I think we're all going to say the same thing.
Lycra bike shorts.
Lycra bike shorts. Lycra bike shorts. Lycra bike shorts. Men. Yeah. I'm going to say that navy blue Lycra bike shorts, navy blue tank top, black Lycra bike shorts, and like a John Deere yellow and green hat.
I was also going to say, I wrote down, I'm yawning on the pod. I wrote down the cyclist outfit, but also on page 30, when he first shows up, he looks fucking cool. He had a blue and white striped t-shirt and denim cutoffs.
Nice.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Also a style hound.
I mean, and also Emily wearing that long t-shirt
the long
with
J-Rag.
Pooh Bear on it. Just so, I mean, that wasn't in there, but you could imagine.
Yeah,
Well, she was Pooh Bearing because she's only wearing a t-shirt. Fists were covered in honey, and she was licking them. All right, alternate title.
I wrote Will Wolf, which you've already said.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, Will.
Mine was In Bog We Trust.
In Bog We Trust.
In Bog We Trust.
On the way over here, I said, who's afraid of a big swamp wolf? I feel like, I don't have a good one.
Yeah.
Jizz Pants Wolf Addiction.
Yeah, that's usually what we resort to. Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah. That's it, I think. Anything else we got?
No.
Cool. Tom, anything you'd like to plug at this time?
No, I got nothing.
Okay.
You do have a comic book that you're working on right now?
Yeah, working on a comic book. It's pretty fun. It's called Belfoyle's Guide, all about same thing, how isolationism with children kind of leads them to violence.
Is there anywhere we can follow you to keep up to date on this that you'd like?
Yeah, I mean, you can follow me on Twitter because I'm super dope at Twitter.
Cool.
I'm at Coach for Dads.
Uh-huh.
Coach for Dads.
Number 4?
The word 4.
The word 4.
Yeah. I'm super good at Smash Brothers Ultimate. I'm
He's
a
really
NES
good.
main.
He's very good.
So if you guys ever want to challenge me, like just reach out on Twitter, get my friend code, and I will just demolish you.
Cool. If you want to find his Instagram, we posted us on Cinco de Mayo drinking our Corona Lights.
Hell yeah.
And he is tagged on there.
Yeah, at Tom Dzuiba. Yeah, and like there's some Game Loft games I'm proud of. Spider-Man you can't get anymore, but Sniper Fury I think is a really fun one that I work on.
You could download that.
You could download that.
Cool.
Yeah.
So that's it.
Yeah.
Bye.
Boo dudes.
Boo dudes.
Yeah, I was gonna say you'd say it.